Bring me everyone.
What do you mean, everyone?
Everyone!
Board meeting!
Welcome to Everyone Racers,
a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture.
It doesn't matter what kind of Lemon Champ or Lucky Track Dog league you run.
SCCA or NASA, we don't discriminate.
as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself.
Join us each week for tech discussion,
Tips, tricks,
as well as news and notes from the world of amateur endurance racing.
whether it's on the spot,
hella sweet,
Or we're lucky enough in
Chrissy,
Chrissy,
I give you just the tip.
we're sure you'll giggle a little.
and learn even less.
Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
Unfortunately, there's not going to be a Tim. I'm sorry, but I am mental.
He's playing golf. Oh, golf
He
is
is.
fun.
He's not even
He's
playing
molding
golf.
young minds.
He's
Yeah,
helping
huh?
people play golf, so he's not.
That's
playing.
true. Yep. And we are Everyone Racers. Welcome to a Long Nose Pete, episode 379. The Peterbilt 379 is a model line of Class 8 trucks that was produced by the Peterbilt division of PACCAR from 87 to '07. Serving as a successor to the 359, the 379 was a conventional cab truck configured primary for highway use, serving as the flagship of the Peterbilt model line. During much of its production, the 379 was popular among owner-operator drivers. In line with the Kenworth W900, the 379 serves as a popular basis for truck customization. It features an enlarged windshield, allowing for horizontally mounted windshield wipers. The 379 also introduced the headlamp-mounted turn signals, relocating from the fender, and made rectangular headlamp standard. Now, when you think of a Peterbilt that's probably driven by some cowboy going about 85 down the highway, this is the one you think of. It's just square. It has all of the unaerodynamic things that it could possibly have, like the big chrome air cleaners and the stacks and the visor that just blocks air and like everything.
The studio apartment behind the cab.
Yeah, it
reminds
can
me
have
of
that too.
The truck from Cars.
Yes.
Yep, because it's like the
recall its name,
stereotypical
but-
think of a tractor trailer, and that's what it looks like. Yeah.
There's not much to pick from on 379. Sorry, that's what we got.
No, it's okay.
It's like
It's
No, that's
valid.
fine.
There
Yes,
is a
it is.
generation of us that grew up watching BJ and the Bear and Sheriff Lobo, which was a spinoff of that whole thing. And they romanticized the over-the-road trucker independent contractor of the 70s before, an abuse of methamphetamines and too much government overreach, ruined that whole romanticism.
Change gear, change gear, change gear, murder prostitute, change gear, change gear, change gear, murder prostitute.
Yeah.
Wait for your delivery, change gear, change gear,
I
change gear.
I missed the in between change gears. I got it now. Okay.
So you're not traveling across the country with some sort of possibly illegal primate pet that will eventually go into adolescence and eat your face. What are you working on?
Getting Coors from across the border. Nope, not that either. Anyway, I'll go first. I've
Please.
been continuing to work on the MG. Mostly it's been the worst stuff that is possible in this project. It is lying under the car on a concrete floor in the wintertime, scraping and wire brushing old parts. It's terrible. It's mostly done now, fortunately, including spraying primer and rust converter on all the the exposed metal that needed it. I've also had all this rear suspension and axle apart and cleaned and painted those. I've been dealing with several broken bolts, including on the exhaust manifold that required removing the carburetors and exhaust manifold to get to after I tried welding it in position. That didn't work. So all that had to come out. And then, of course, after several tries of soaking in ATF and acetone for a couple days, welding various bolts onto what remained of the broken stud, all kinds of tricks that I could do, it wasn't coming out. So had to cut it off, had to drill it, 4 different steps of drill bits. It's been great. But
You're getting it done.
after this, we're actually into the, like, I have to paint basically the whole inside of the car, which I'm gonna do with a brush and Eastwood chassis coat, whatever it is. But then after that, it's all assembly of clean painted parts and rust-free bolts, and that's the easy stuff. That's pretty good. So it's been terrible getting through this so far, but when you're going through hell, keep going. Don't stop. Yeah.
Excellent.
I've also had some more experience with rust removal products. Now, a while ago, you may remember I built a electrolysis bucket out of some scrap pipes and wiring and a Home Depot bucket and a battery charger and laundry soda. And it worked quite well for larger parts, like we did steering or front suspension knuckles for the Mazda, among other things, and hubs and all kinds of things in that bucket. It worked really well. This time I had a lot of small parts that don't work so well in the bucket. So I got some Evapo Rust, which is a CRC product. It costs about $28 for the gallon shipped on Amazon, and you put your parts in it and wait. And I have to say, this stuff works pretty darn well. You're going to need to leave it in there for a long time. You put the parts in the fluid in a bucket or whatever
No,
container.
You have
That's
fluid
it.
and you just make it look at the parts.
Yeah.
And it just,
Yeah. No,
Um,
you put the parts in a bucket, pour the fluid on it, and wait. And the fluid goes from clear to black.
I have like a few, like for just a handful of bolts, I use like old Rubbermaid or cheap Tupperware. Do the same thing. Yep.
how is it? This sounds easier than electrolysis. Is that what it's called? What you did before with the
It probably is, but
it up?
the electrolysis is really nice for larger parts that because you have to run current through the whole thing.
Right.
And so that works very well for the things like the steering knuckles and the hubs and whatnot. This is much better for the smaller parts. And I did all kinds of stuff with it. And not only the car parts, I had a really rusty wrench that I found somewhere. I put that in it and it cleaned it right up. Old rusty pair of vice grips, clean those up. If just the key is just leave it in there for a while, then take it out. You got to rinse it off with water to rinse all the stuff off. And then especially if you do a light wire brush to it, it cleans it up surprisingly well. You're still going to have whatever, if there's pitting on it, whatnot, that's not going to go away. Metal's gone, but it really quite works. And especially when you're getting into the nooks and crannies of tools and things that you can't get into otherwise. Like I had a pair of wiring pliers that I don't remember where I got them. They were old, might have been from the Cape. Anyway, they were stiff after leaving them in the stuff for a couple of days and putting a couple drops of oil on them. They are smooth and free as can be. They're great. So would recommend Evaporust. And you can also apparently use it several times until it runs out of effectiveness. So I strained it through a filter and a funnel and put it back in the jug it came from. And I'll keep using it in the future. I mean, probably it's going to just take longer and longer as you keep using it, but would recommend. Give it a shot.
Great. Probably should
Yeah.
put that your list of whatever is in and how much on maybe on our socials.
Sure. I mean, it's Evaporust. It's easy to find. Mhm.
You can
Go
even
try it.
you can pick it up at O'Reilly's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep. So, Metzel, what have you been working on? Because you don't have rust in the desert.
We don't. So this past weekend, our good buddy Corey Dickman came in. We hung out. We did a bunch of prep work on the limo. We are feeling confident. We had one, like it was a slow leak of brake fluid. We found it was a bleeder screw that just wasn't tight. So we tightened that up. We went through some other things. We changed out filters, fluids. We did the very messy transmission filter and fluid change and did not stain my driveway. We ruined some cardboard and a tarp. It was fantastic. So well done on that. And you could tell that this limo was towards the end of its life. 200 and something thousand miles on it. Never had a transmission fluid change.
Nice.
Nope,
Yeah.
Not surprised.
And the same rear brake caliper that we discovered was leaking, he replaced one pad,
And
One
that's
pad.
Smart.
one side,
Yes.
just the outside. left the inside. Yeah. So no, just
Okay. I mean, I
some.
trust Corey. Normally, I would say that's some BS
No,
right there. But
Corey replaced all the brakes. The
oh, the previous
previous
person replaced one. Got it.
one
Got it.
pad on
Got
a
it.
rotor. We're like, why is it only grabbing the? Oh yeah, okay. Once we have the wheel off, that makes total sense. And
Mm.
we weren't crazy about the lug nuts, which turned out to be the factory lug nuts. But we went to the junkyard and found a set on a Crown Vic that were a little bit just thread and pitch were fine, but they were a little beefier, and so we went and pulled those off, and then did some other stuff, and then grabbed some dinner, hung out, did some all you can eat sushi, and Sunday he went out, he took off. Um, After my trip to San Diego, the 912, I felt like it was just a little bit off, and so I pulled it in, pulled the plugs. They were a little dirty, a little sooty. Cleaned out the cap and the rotor, redid all the connections, sprayed some carb cleaner in the carbs, and when you only have about 120 horsepower, you notice about 5 to 15 of them missing. So yeah, it's perked back up, and it's a little bit easier to start on that one. And then finally, I think I'm recovered from the half marathon that I ran on Sunday. My old heel injury decided to irritate itself, so I was walking around with a bag of ice strapped to my foot all day today and yesterday.
I didn't realize you were running a half marathon. Did
Yeah,
not know that.
the Las Vegas rock and roll half marathon. It's the first time I've done serious running since my surgery a couple of years ago. Worst time to date. Don't care. Best time since the surgery. I finished it. So yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it just jumped right back in from not really running to half marathon. Yep.
Well, I started in December, and I laid out a training plan and actually stuck to it pretty well. And so yeah.
No, good.
Okay.
Good for you.
So
Oh, great. And you can actually run outside, or run somewhere, which is nice. But speaking of, today is the first time I ran outside since November, maybe
October. Yeah. November.
October.
Yeah.
Mm.
Something like that.
It's cold here. So I did not run a half marathon. I got in 3 miles and was pretty happy, especially since I've been sick for the last 2 weeks. So, yes, that's what I'm currently working on. I am working on a couple required certifications. So it's sitting on a computer listening to somebody tell me about hazardous waste and shipping papers. So, no fun. But
what's my favorite word?
hexavalent chromium, which is not what I'm learning about right now, which is
I know,
fine.
but you say hazardous materials, that always pops into my head.
It is that.
How about Haswapper?
I just finished Aswapper, and now I'm doing DT shipping.
Right?
Okay.
How can Haswapper?
Yeah. Haswapper sounds like something a TV show would make up if they don't have Burger King's permission to make fun of something on a sitcom.
It is not any of that much fun at all. It is about when you have
I can
has waste.
Haswapper.
How do you have has waste? How do you label it? And how do you make sure that it's going to be processed correctly? It is.
Do not drink.
Unfortunately, it's a little more complicated than that. It's about 8 hours more complicated about that. But that's okay.
Inflammable means flammable? What?
Okay. All right. We're moving on to news and notes time. Or did you have one of those crappy license plate covers that you thought would hide your license plate from being seen back in the day? I know neither of you probably had one of those. No. Well, now that license plate readers are all the rage, especially in big cities. Of course, there are companies that are coming out of the woodwork trying to convince you that a piece of film will shield your license plate from those readers, and they're illegal, and that they are legal, which they're in fact not. Lawrence Hodge at Jalopnik tells us that the NYPD is cracking down on those that have this piece of film over their license plate, and they're not working. CBS News reports a company called Elite claims that they sell anti-radar license plate stickers and covers, and drivers in New York are falling for it. Elite sticker cover has a material called a nanofilm eco slick. And from the description on Elite's site, you can't really tell what the material is made out of or exactly what they're supposed to do. For this description on one frequently asked questions at the bottom of the site says, what does the camera see when using the nanofilm? The camera only sees an illuminated area where the symbols are hidden under the eco slick stickers, which blends into the white background. According Accordingly, the digital system does not recognize the number and does not record the database. And no one will get a fine. Social media posts about the company prominently feature New York and New Jersey license plates and claim it protects and sells are 100% legal, then that is far from the truth. People purchased these two stickers for $56 and still got tickets. Apparently, the team at Jalopnik dug into the site, was totally sketchy, reviews are generic and sound like a scam. Why don't we just obey the traffic rules?
And I'm with you on that, especially in a big city like that. But part of it is too is those license plate readers are not limited to only law enforcement. Random people can buy them, people that are looking for repos and stuff like that. And they drive around with these giant databases of where your car was and at what time of the day.
And they have pictures of them. And then big companies who care about this thing can go find pictures of what your car looked like a while ago. And so you say, maybe you claim that, oh, my tailgate was damaged in this crash, this rear ender. We think that doesn't make any sense. And we go find a picture of your truck from 6 months before. Guess what it has? Big dent in the tailgate. Amazing how people
Indeed
change their story real quick. Anyway.
Yeah.
So
Sketchy all the way around. We're living in Big Brother.
It is. Yeah. Apparently, there is a truck carrying an 182-ton oversized load, which tipped over on a bridge, and now it's stuck there. That sounds great. Ronan Glon from The Drive tells us how an oversized load is stuck on a bridge waiting for help. Owned by a trucking company named Whack, of course it is, the Scania Semi was delivering a massive furnace to the Novacarb chemical plant in Longueville-devant-Nancy, a town located in the northeastern part of France. The setup stretches about 32 yards long, 7 yards wide, and 8 yards tall, and according to local news reports, it weighs 182 tons. The route took it over a small bridge in Jalville-la-Malgrange, France, and that's where the trip went very wrong. See, the bridge doesn't allow oversized loads, but because this was the only way to get there, they added some metal platforms to the bridge to help, but one side collapsed, causing the load to roll. As of yesterday, or this is several days ago now, the truck is still on the bridge. Great. Well, the truck is still on the bridge with its passenger side wheels in the air and a jumbo furnace leaning against the guardrail. Officials are worried about whether the guardrail can withstand the furnace's weight. If it doesn't, there's a chance the entire combo will roll into a canal. They're still hoping to salvage it all, as long as it doesn't roll off the bridge first.
I have a feeling it's hard.
That guy
to
had
replicate.
a bad day.
Apparently,
But
he
you know who
jumped
had
out the window, and he rolled off and needed he got pretty hurt by jumping out the window because he didn't want to roll with it. So
Didn't want to land in a river.
I think he did land in the river actually. But
I mean, under a truck.
Correct.
Yeah. Yes.
I'll tell you, you know who's having a good day? The guy that welded that guardrail. I would be
Yeah, that's
talking
right.
so much smack.
And the crane operator who's going to come in and save the day because they need to save.
Yeah. Oh, I imagine there's a lot of per diem involved in that one. Yeah.
No pressure. No pressure.
There's going to be so much paperwork involved. So much paperwork.
But it's also
and
in
it's
France,
French, so you
yeah,
know
right.
it's even more administrative.
Well, what is it though? They don't have a whole lot of rules that we have, so
they're less litigious, but there's still lots of paperwork and there's gonna be so many people staring at it. That's for sure.
They're less litigious, but they are more administrative.
Yeah.
They're in the northeast corner of France. There's probably only 15 people around, so they probably
they're close to Germany though, so that might make them a little more likely to.
If they were in Germany,
anyway.
this would have been cleaned up already. Yeah, but
That's true.
Oh
well,
I love it. That's not racist. That's elitism. Hey, have you always wanted to race Willow Springs but never had the chance?
Yes.
You might want to move that schedule up a little bit. All over Facebooks, Jerry Perez at The Drive has the details about the private equity firm that is currently closing a deal to purchase the oldest continuously operating racetrack in the United States. After 62 years of a single family running, quote, the fastest road in the West, Boston-based private equity firm Cross Harbor Capital Partners is finishing up their deal on the property, which is about 45 minutes outside of Los Angeles in the heart of meth country. Specializing in, quote, property turnarounds for commercial real estate, Cross Harbor said in a statement to The Drive, quote, the team is excited to preserve the legacy and enthusiast access to one of America's most iconic racing facilities while setting up property for growth and success in the future. More details will be released soon. While one commenter noted,
blah. That's all right.
Exactly. One commenter noted private equity firms always make things worse, and they do. At a minimum, you can count on it getting a lot more expensive, because that was always one of the most attractive things about Willow Springs is it was cheap. You could rent it for very, very little. So there's talk of it becoming the new private racetrack with villas and condos and that whole 9 yards. I don't know. Maybe they'll actually install showers.
Did it not have any?
No. And every time they've actually tried to put in showers, the city fights them on it because they want people to be forced to rent their sketchy hotels. I feel cleaner not showering every time I'm at Willow Springs for 3 days than staying in some of those hotels.
Fortunate. I mean, chances are you.
It's like Button Willow. Come on.
Yeah.
Button Willow has showers. Button Willow has nice showers.
Oh yes, I know, but I meant the town near Button Willow. Before we've been there in the winter, and before they had the better bathroom, and when it was only just the spigot sticking out of the concrete wall showers at Button Willow in December.
Yes, maybe.
Shower
Willow
curtain.
Springs they're known for having 2 big bathroom complexes, and they are known as the House of Charmin East and the House of Charmin West.
Oh.
Nice.
Okay.
Willow Springs, it's a fun track. It's got that kind of feel to it. Then Streets of Willow is actually a little, challenging, but Big Willow, that's when everybody races, and that's where they film Ford v Ferrari and all that other kind of stuff on there.
Feel. That's what it is. Before it was, we're in the desert. Here's some pavement with turns. Go. That's it.
Up on the side of a mountain, so there's great elevation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway.
All right. So in a little bit, we're going to talk about ways you can save money. It's because racing's pricey. Naturally, we're going to tell you 2 things we've said before. 1, start with someone else's built race car. And 2, you can find it on racingjunk.com. Like this, a logbooked and ready to run 81 RX-7 SCCA IT7 car for $4,500. Car was built in 2000, raced till 09, raced again in 15 at Charlotte's Roval, VIR, Kershaw, and Road Atlanta. It's rocking a 12A rotary that was rebuilt in 09, has camber plates, a Monte Carlo bar, front brake ducts, Tokiko shocks, Bilstein shocks, adjustable rear roll center, the good 488-1 LSD rear end with disc brakes, header, NASCAR style cage, racing seat, quick release wheel. The next owner is also going to get 3 sets of wheels, including some factory rollers. Seller adds that delivery is available for a reasonable fee, and they'll consider very interesting trades. It is in Huntersville, North Carolina, and the ad has 14 pictures. That looks like a great way to... Yes, very interesting trades. That opens it up to all kinds of things.
Yes, it does.
I have this taxidermy and I have a delightful taxidermy moose head you may be interested in.
But what else? You got to pair it with something.
Oh, well, obviously you always need a broken side-by-side.
I was going to say ride-on mower. I was going
PlayStation. Broken PlayStation.
Yeah, Xbox.
Outdated laptop. Yeah, exactly.
That might have a broken screen.
A Nissan Altima that runs great, needs 1 tire, but he doesn't have the title.
And a skittish cat.
It's easy to get one though. You just have to go to the DMV.
Just go to the DMV. It's real easy. I'll give you a bill of sale.
Yeah.
It'll totally be fine.
Yeah.
But this actually looks like, $4,500. That is a no kidding track ready car. That's great.
Yeah.
I would not endurance.
The only problem
race
you're going to
it.
have is Those 12As are becoming very thin on the ground, those parts.
They
So
are.
you got to watch out for that. If anything,
Yeah.
that motor in running condition is worth a substantial portion of the price of that car because
True.
of how thin those are getting.
Yeah,
But
and
you know
then
what
you
fits
just
great in the
ecotech
engine
it
bay
and have
there?
fun.
Yeah, Ford 302s fit really nicely in the engine bay of first gen RX-7s too.
They do. They
Just
do.
saying.
And they get a little bit better gas mileage than a 4-barrel 12A.
Probably. Yep.
It's upcoming races time. Okay, Champ Car said
Finally.
VIR this weekend for a 12-hour race. It must be too early for people to get their cars out of hibernation on the East Coast, or this would probably be a sellout. 17 cars. 5
Like you're not even going to see anybody at VIR with
the
17 cars.
actually the link that Mental had said 4, and I had to go, like, I went to a different place to just double
Yes.
check. No, it's fine, but I that's what the website says, so maybe it's more.
And,
maybe
and I went to the same
more.
one. They finally updated their website with it. Yeah. And
17.
not a lot. One of the 4 was a 1968 Ford Country Squire, and I don't think that's accurate.
I don't think so either. So I have 5 BMWs, 1 Porsche, 4 Miatas, 1 Mazda 3, a dang old
Woo!
Camaro Z28, a Mini Cooper, and a Fit, and I'm pretty sure that's about it. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Those 17 people are going to have a great time.
That Fit is not going to have to lift most of the way around the track.
And they're going to be able
With
to do
no
their
one around,
taxes
they're
down the straight. So
Yep.
it's a
Bring some
lot.
snacks. Uh-huh.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Taxes, read a book. Yeah. So
Well, you're going to get lots of seat time, everybody. Hope you don't break. That's great.
Only race for a little while. In a couple weeks.
Yeah.
We'll see some more. There are no recent results because we didn't have any races last week. But we're at Let's feedback time.
It is.
On YouTube, Michael K. called Mental out. I got to call shame on you for limping a brake failure car back to the pits. What on earth is the point? Towing is free. You're out of contention. Also, it was an HPDE. What possible justification can you form in your brain for intentionally, regardless of how minor, endangering others on the track and the paddock?
Wow.
It's one thing to if you're right there by a pit out and this is your escape route. Okay. Thanks, Dad.
Wow.
I think he was actually not the brake failure at Nollins, but he was talking about the brake failure I had at Barber. And as he continued on, one of the most dysfunctional, and he qualifies that with their gradients on our team. And I feel like we all have that, you just various levels of dysfunction. But one of our most dysfunctional but useful team members almost got himself kicked off the team for continuing to circulate 3 more laps after the pedal went to the floor. Figured it was just an abnormality. It was his first race. So newbie driver instruction on our team is very clear. If anything potentially dangerous is happening to the car, safely pull off the track because towing is free. And this, I actually thought and meditated on this, and this is what it comes down to: is he's right. I thought I was being safe. It was stupid A-type macho non-crap, and I convinced myself I was being safer by not forcing a local yellow. And really, what I should have pulled off to a safe part of the track because I had control of the car, waved to a flag station, and then had them bring a rollback out there. And not only is that what I should have done, if you find yourself in a similar situation, I hope that's what you do. One of those make a well-informed bad decisions. I want to say that I was right, but I was wrong. And in the future, that's what I'm going to do.
And sometimes if your car is still drivable but not really safe, the tow truck drivers will just drive behind you with all their flashing lights and stuff on so that you can get off the track without the hassle of actually a tow. Like that's what happens with I've had that happen with the Mazda and with the Civic. The Mazda, when the engine fell most of the way out of it, when the mount bolt sheared off, it drove, but something was very wrong. But so they drove behind me. And the Civic, when the brake, when the one pad left, it's like, well, something happened with the brakes, but it starts and runs. So if they're like, all right, we'll just follow you in, if you're all right. It's like, yeah, that's fine. So.
Yeah.
Now you know. We want to welcome Corey Fisher, who said he just started listening to us. He started from the beginning. Oh, no.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. He's up to 202. So you'll hear this eventually, unless you're binging or something, which I'm sorry also. And we had a video short about some brake compounds on the Insta. Savage Orchid Racing shared my views saying,
Tim's views, yes.
oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Tim's views. Same, we had a bad set too. And at Tim Berman, there was there anything at the, was there when it happened at the 24-hour race at HBR? They added, in case it wasn't clear, we're saying that it is Tim Burr's fault. He's the common denominator. His mere presence disintegrates ST43 compound.
I could see
Good to
that.
know.
You know, the presence of Tim overheats your brakes.
You know whose presence fortifies your ST43s?
Oh, wow.
You know who would always safely pull off the track and not endanger others?
Yes, I think these are accurate. If only she could make ST43s, then we'd be money.
Oh, that'd be great.
Chrissy's mom's ST43s, fresh out of the oven.
Oh,
Everybody would drive their brakes to failure because it would smell so nice.
Yeah,
You'd come to the penalty box and the judges would be like, "Oh, this smells great.
Gee,
You're overdriving the
your
car.
brakes smell terrific.
I love this.
You're clearly overdriving the car.
This
Do
is
it
what
more."
this is a marketing ploy we have not explored. I might have to make this suggestion.
Cookie scented brakes. Why has no one done this yet?
I am not
Yes.
sure.
Patent pending.
Indeed.
Okay, it's main topic time.
We get it, folks. Racing is expensive. And this topic kind of came out of some conversations I was having with Corey. It's getting more expensive on two fronts. One, the series we run, which kind of gave birth to a lot of the other amateur endurance series. It's been around now for 18 years. Actually, yeah, almost, if you consider just the one-off races in 2006, almost 20 years. So there's a lot of people that have gotten better at it. And as you get better at it, your consumables go away. Your parts market has all been shipped overseas, and we're staying away out of the politics of it, but that's about to get more expensive. So you're eating more parts than you used to, and they're more expensive parts than there used to be. And there's entire cottage industries that cater to making go fast parts for endurance stuff on that one. So we're trying, we asked you, we've got our experiences on this one. Where can you be frugal and where should you not skimp? Being realistic. Does your budget match your goals? I mean, you say you're here to have fun, but then you're trying to keep costs down and not win. And there is an entire community out there in the endurance racing that deliberately run 300, 500 tread wear all season tires because they last more than one race and they get greasy when you overdrive. So it's kind of a self-limiting governor on that one, and it slows you down. You save other consumables on that, but we're going to go through and talk about some of our clues and some of yours as well.
Sumatomos are great.
And well, I think that first bit matters so much. If you just said, I want to win, well, you better make sure your budget is going to be able to support that. And if it's not, well, then reconsider your goals. And then there's a whole bunch of things that you can do differently if you're not trying to go as fast as possible all the time. Tons of things. And a lot of it is in how you can have your car set up and in how your use of consumables. And this gets before we even get to picking a car. Let's assume you're trying to save with the car that you have. So consumables are your number one cost. Like you can't change your race fees. They are as what it is. That's fine. You can sit with a cardboard sign outside the track and, we'll get panhandling or heckles or both. Right. Usually not.
People don't like that.
Well, now Dave Eckel did suggest a 7-step program along those lines. And it was gear up, hang out in the hot pits, and then jump into a random car after the gas cap goes on. Then you race for free. Step 5, you run out of gas on the track, make sure the car gets towed to a Waffle House. Step 6, and then step 7 is eat waffles and wait for the police.
So much.
Well, then you also get free lodging that night too. That's
see, Dave Eckel's solving problems left and right. That guy is on it.
Aren't great though.
No, the restaurants
and
aren't great.
the
company can be a little rough at times.
Company
Yes.
and the betting is not great either. So I feel
No.
like
Yeah. Uh,
Well thought.
well, so aside from that, consumables are probably your number one ongoing cost. That's a variable cost you have, aside from racing less. So what can you do about your consumables to use them smartly? And let's start with tires. Everyone loves tires. And what's the best tire? This is the fastest tire, blah, blah, blah. Okay. You want to maximize the mileage out of your tires that you're getting for the cost, because every time you change tires, you got to pay $100 to the local corner garage to change them over. You've got to get them from tire rack. You got to go maybe heat cycle them. So what can you do? First off, picking the right brand and kind of tire matters, and don't just go for the 600 tread wear Douglas Extra Track 2s. Sure, it's 600 tread wear, but the problem is they can't handle the heat of the track, and they're going to chunk and they're going to fall apart and they're not going to last. But also, you don't want to go for the newest hotness 200 tread wear super, knife fight tire like a Vitor Tempesta P1 or the Yokohama A05 2s that or Falcon 660s. You're going to get like a day out of those, maybe. So you got to find the right balance. Find a tire that's going to hold up to the heat, but also not too expensive, and it's going to last. And now our favorite is the Hankook RS4s, because they're plenty grippy. Sure, they're not pointy and grippy, but they last like we get 2, 3, 4 races out of them depending on the car. That's a ton. And even if you go to like a 340 tread, where there's some that are okay, but like for example, a Continental Extreme Contact Sport has good grip, but they're not going to last in the dry the same way like something like an RS4 or a Falcon 615K will. Those are designed to hold up. So get the right kind of tire for what you're doing that maximizes how many laps you actually get per dollar.
And on that tire thing too, because I know we all love our Hankooks, but on when Corey's running some of his big stuff, the Hankooks, they do not last him, and so he is not a fan.
You got to just find the right thing that works. Like for Jim, the guy that runs the Cordobas in the East Coast here, he used to run BFG Comp 2s, and they were 300 treadwears, and he would wear them out, especially the edges. And he went to RS4s now, and they last him a lot longer. And those are some big, heavy cars. So for him, like going for the racier tire actually gets him better tire mileage. So it's find what works for your car. Next thing is, you'd be amazed at the difference in sizes of tire makes in pricing. Like for the Mazda, we've got 2 sets of wheels. We've got some 18 by 8s that have a 225 40 18, and we have some 17 by 8.5s that run a 245 40. And the 17-inch tires are significantly less expensive than the 18s. Performance, pretty much the same. So if you've got your choice of wheels, look at what the tires are going to cost. And typically the smaller diameter wheel tire will cost you less than the larger one. So consider that in your wheel choices. And lastly, make your tires last. Maximize your wear. And by doing that, I mean actually get your car aligned or align it yourself. If you have an inch of toe out, you're just going to trash your tires. They're not going to last, and you're wasting hundreds of dollars. If you have a good alignment, enough camber, not too much, a proper set of toe, your tires are going to last several races. Rotate them.
Unless you're
make it work.
Some tracks are worse than others that might eat your tires.
Absolutely. But still,
Yes.
they're going to be
In
bad.
general,
They're going to, right. Like New Hampshire trashes your right front tire. There's no way around it. But the tire you pick, if you have a good alignment on it, it's going to last longer than it would otherwise. And that's such a simple thing. And so many people like never, did you check the alignment when your car's handling weird? Like, I don't know what's wrong with it. No, I didn't check the alignment. And they go and check it. Oh, guess what? I have a half inch of toe out. Yeah, that'll do it. Right. And that's also just destroying your tires. And, check your pressures and see how they are. If you have a testing day, or if you're not being competitive, just come in during mid race and use a probe pyrometer, check them. Get the right pressure. So those things make a big difference in how long your tires last.
And then you're thinking about suspension settings too, because a lot of folks, especially if they're just getting into it, they will get their toe and camber settings off of sprint racers. And those guys have those cars set up to run 20 minutes. You're trying to make yours last for 8 hours. And yeah, they are not
Mm-hmm.
eyeing towards extension of consumables on those sprint
Nope.
races.
It's usually it's less tow and less camber than you think you need from what the sprint racers run. All right, next up
Mhm.
I'll say is fluids. And this may be a controversial one. Some people just like to change the oil every race because it's cheap insurance. But here's another alternative. Have your oil analyzed after a race. See how it's holding up. If it's looking great, well, go for another race. And that way, you can go 2 races on some oil. Give it a shot. And most synthetic oils are pretty darn close in their capacity for dealing with this stuff. If you have enough of it and an oil cooler and things like that, you don't need to spend the $15 a quart on Driven. You can buy some Pennzoil Ultra Platinum. Still works great. Rotella, we love Rotella. Stuff's cheap,
Love
holds up
Rotella.
wonderfully. If you've got something that can
And
handle a 40 weight,
Walmart puts it on
Rotella's wonderful.
sale. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So think about
Hello?
that. Yep. Like fluids, I'll say brake fluid. And you say, well, that's a safety related thing. Well, sure. But I see people running Castrol SRF. That's like $60 a quart. You can run Motul RBF 600. That is like $15 a quart. It is 95% of the benefit of as good a fluid, but at like a quarter of the price. There you go. You don't need to flush your brake system all the way every single race. You just need to bleed it out. You can check the quality of the fluid with one of those fluid check, those test strips. Like that's the thing. Test your fluids instead of just replacing them. You'll learn when you actually need to replace them and save some money doing that. Next up, brake pads. Sure, you can go get the Wagner Quiet Stops from AutoZone with the lifetime warranty and replace them every day. But that's not necessarily the best either. But also going for a super fancy European race pad that's $600 a set, also not the best idea. Find something in the middle ground that's going to work, that's going to get you the maximum benefit. Like, sure, ST43s are expensive, but when they last 3 races, 4 races, and they don't wear your rotors out, I'd argue that's a better value than a Hawk Black that you're going to get 2 races out of, and it's going to trash your rotors every time. They're gone. So consider that kind of thing. And lastly, tuning and your setup of your car. Like, sure, things like I'm gonna advance the timing and get the tune set so I can get that last 3 horsepower. Sure. Well, now you're running 93 octane. If you just keep it on a dumb tune, more like the street car the engine came out of,
Dumb
you can
too.
run 87, right? You don't need to
Yeah,
run that
it's so
93 octane.
great.
Sure, you're going to lose out on a couple of horsepower, but okay, you just saved yourself a whole bunch of money running regular gas all
And
the
out here
time.
on the
Like,
West Coast, 80 something octane to 93 octane, you're talking $2 a gallon sometimes difference in
sure.
price. Go back and watch the Lemons wrap up where Corey talks about feeding the 454 all weekend.
Yeah. Well, like, I remember getting gas for one race and yeah, I'm getting like, oh, you want 93? I was like, no, 87. Someone's like, what are you talking about? It's like, look, our engine is from a 2012 Ford Fusion, like base model. What do I need? I don't need 93. It runs great. I'm like, oh, all right, I guess that makes sense. So these are all things in your control that you can do to get the benefit, most of the benefit, but cut the extra cost out. Especially if you're not really trying to win, you can still go do well, but it makes a big difference. And Tyler S said, drive a lightweight slow car and only race it once a year. That's a way to save money too. I can't find the exact numbers, but I think I burned about 60 gallons in 14 hours of racing last year at Road America, and about 99% of the lap was at full throttle. Yeah. And that goes into car choice. And there's a
I'm
lot
pretty
of
sure
ways that
we
your
burned
car choice
60
makes a big
gallons.
difference.
Yeah. We burned 60 gallons in a 302 E36 and it was broken for a couple of hours on one day.
Yeah. Chrissy?
Would you want to keep going? Okay.
Yeah, this next one is good.
Okay,
It's
great.
on the same topic. It's about your
Yeah,
carb choice.
sure. Jerry Ringel also seconded a small, lightweight car. Running the Miatas costs half the fuel of our V8 rides. Tires are significantly less as well. We run over the counter brake pads because we don't use much brake. Momentum is key, so that's a saver. There is nothing cheap about running the V8, so no need to go there. The whole weekend is a cash burn.
Yes.
But it's absolutely
Verify.
true.
Mhm.
And just running the lighter, smaller car with the lighter, smaller parts, with the lighter, smaller, cheaper, everything makes such a difference. Like what it costs to used to run, it costs to run the boat versus the single cam Civic hatch. It was astoundingly different.
Yeah.
The boat's tires were the 245 17s versus
Oh,
205 15s on the Civic. The
so
Civic
big
burned
and
4.5
small.
gallons an hour. The boat burned 8.5 or 9, right? Everything about it was just so much more expensive. And the Civic was still faster, of course, because it didn't have a boat on it. But it, it's it's just a direct demonstration of the two next to each other of how much the cost can really change.
Mhm. Uh, Ben Barrett said 15-inch tires and FCP Euro lifetime replacement brakes. Oh, and don't wreck the car. And Matt F, our buddy, also echoed. He said oil changes, brakes, tires, and don't break shit. These are all legitimate, valid concepts. It seems kind of silly, but if you go back and you look at the pit race last March, uh, Derek Steinkamp did not put gas in his car all day. He's running a Passat wagon. And we all know Derek. I love Derek. I think that guy's hysterical. And they were having a great time. They were having fun. And he can drive, but he was driving a diesel Passat wagon, three-wheeling it all the way around the track, giggling.
Brian T said, this diesel Chevette can run most of Saturday and all of Sunday on a single tank, and they don't use brakes. They're not going fast enough. Sure, all of those work. And I'm going to add a little bit about how you drive matters a lot here too.
Good one.
Matt said, "Don't break shit." You're right, Matt. But here's a great way not to break shit. Back off just a little bit. You're not going to win. You don't need to go 4 wide into that corner. You can just back off and let everyone else settle down. You don't need to be banging off the red line every shift. Every time you go around the corner, when you get to that spot where the tires, you're at the maximum grip, but you need a little more and you turn a little more and you can just feel the tires slipping and the understeering, right?
Yeah.
Or if you're oversteering, you're just chewing your tires out. If you just back off a little bit, you're going to find you're not going to lose very much time, but your good tires are going to be much better. Same applies to fuel. Try going around the track, not downshifting some spots. Like let the car go down at 3,000 RPM or even less sometimes, depending on your red line. You'd be amazed at the difference in fuel economy you get. Like I remember when the clutch broke in the boat, we only had fourth gear. We were only 2 seconds slower, but our fuel burn went down like 25%. It was huge.
And that's an interesting. So if you're there, you're having fun, you're not in the hunt. These are great times to actually kind of start documenting this. Okay, you know what? We're in 27th. We're not going to work really hard for 26, but we're going to make sure everyone gets to run and we're going to have fun. But I'm going to take some data. I'm going to go and, okay, look at that. We didn't need to put as much fuel in there. And, our tires lasted us this much. Sneak it back up to the top. Dean talks about having to weigh cost versus impact. And if you can reduce your cost significantly by backing off there without having that much of an impact, by focusing on being smooth rather than being hard, these are great opportunities, or if the weather's going to suck and it's going to be raining all weekend, say like it's Sonoma and you're going to run 45% of your laps under yellow, time to take a nice big breather. At that one, you're just trying to survive.
Yeah. Absolutely. Here another thing, like Ben, just in the way you're driving, Ben D said, find and run the longest lasting brake pads you can and stop flat spotting your tires. Yep. It's a good keep care of your equipment is how you do it. And most of that is you as the driver. Ben also
Yes,
said own your transponder, which I agree over the long term. That totally
Oh,
pays for
so
itself
much.
without a
totally.
doubt.
Yeah.
Yes. Even if you
Right.
have to overpay for one on eBay or something like that, a hardwire or a battery powered one. And
Yeah.
Worth it.
I'm going to take this from you, Chris, because I don't know if you meant to skip over it, but you're talking about
Go for it.
finding things that are 95% off your value, reduced price. Like, uh, if I am forced to go into a Walmart, I do go to see what if they're selling the Rotella T6 because they'll do the rollbacks on it and it'll get cheap. And I know sometimes people will pop that up into our Slack channel. Hey, this consumable that we all use is on sale at this place or this thing. There's a lot of folks at AutoZones on the West Coast right now that are going there and buying stuff for $1, parts that they know eventually they'll need, wheel bearings and brake lines and things like that.
Well, we do the same with Rock Auto, making something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, buying something, have a coupon
Oh,
code. We
look.
share codes with each other, and then if you need something, we have all of the spares. Just get them cheap rather than needing to get them on the fly when you're at the track.
Yeah, that's a
Mhm.
great one. Buy your parts that you know you're going to need ahead of time because they're way cheaper than having to be at the mercy of your local flaps. Um, and
And they're better
if you
quality
can,
too.
sure, get the RSS feed at Rock Auto for the wholesale and closeout parts for your particular car,
Oh.
and they send you those, and it's like, oh, brake hoses for $4. Yeah, sure, I'll get some of those, or whatever it might be. You'd be amazed at how cheap some stuff goes. I mean, not quite what David E said about Ford Tempo is the answer because Rock Auto will pay you to take their Tempo parts. And he's got stories of buying stuff for like less than $1 for parts just because they just want to get them to go away.
Yeah.
Right. So that kind of pre-race thinking matters. And I think there's also some ways you can save money before you even, more before you can get to the track. And later, and we'll talk a little bit more about how you can do it at the track, but not in the car. When you're towing, your towing fuel is a huge amount of what you spend. So make sure that your tow vehicle and trailer are in good shape and have the right amount of air pressure in the tires. And you know what? You don't need to go 80 towing on your way to the track. The
Unless you're
enclosed
trying to get
trailer's
there
biggest
before it closes.
That's true. Then you do. But the enclosed trailer's biggest problem is not necessarily the weight, it's the drag when you're towing this barn through the wind. And you get incredibly significantly better fuel economy at 60 than you do at 75 because of the aerodynamic drag. So plan a little more time. You'll be a little more relaxed. You get way better economy on your tow vehicle.
I like that.
That is
Staub has a good idea too for pre-race ways to save some money.
funding. Absolutely. Yes. He said you should sell meth. And that's just good advice because Stobbs is a retired police officer. And so he knows what kind of money's in there. But
Yeah.
that it does go to a thing about your efforts on and off the track. There's money hiding everywhere in there. And you guys, especially when we come out the East Coast, you've been doing it for so long. Every track that you're going to tow to, you know exactly where you're going to stop for lunch, where you're going to stop for fuel. You know where the cheapest fuel is. Every time I drive to Buttonwillow, I stop in Boron, which is halfway between Barstow and
The BMWs there?
Boron. That's a good one. I always think of Animal House. What the hell are you supposed to do, you Boron? But it's a Love's truck stop there. And I think Love's deliberately keeps the prices of their gas low. So especially when I'm driving the RV, but even when I was commuting in the Miata, I'm stopping there and I plan ahead. So, I'm saving money rather than filling up in Tehachapi, which is at the top of a mountain and $1.50 a gallon difference. So some route planning and asking advice. You're at the track. Nobody plays I have a secret in the paddock, especially with, oh, you live so many miles from me. How do you get here? Oh, we leave at this time because then we don't have to get stuck in stop and go traffic, or we avoid this, or this is under construction, or stop here because they have great fried chicken and it's cheap. So there's a lot of charting, analysis, and just peer influence where you can find savings off the track.
Toll roads. If you're towing, when I go back and forth to Summit Point, if I take a certain way, if I go up 81 to 78 and then down 183, instead of going the Pennsylvania Turnpike, it costs 10 minutes, but saves me $12. I figure I'm okay with $60 an hour of being paid to not do that. That seems all right to me. Things
Mhm.
like that, if you can, do
Well, and
that.
So
a lot of this is just planning. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and all of it, that we've been talking about now, it's like the pre-purchase of parts and the think of
yeah,
the routes. And hey, if you have a Costco membership, just stop at Costco for gas
right.
before the
We've been
race if you
doing
can, or
that.
on the way to the race. There's like when we go to the Northeast races, if we go, well, actually, depend either way we go, there's a Costco on the way, and the one in
Oh,
Delaware is no good with the trailer. You can't really actually turn around the trailer, and then you cause a
and
problem. Ask us how
people
we know.
glare and
Oh yeah,
basically want to kill you because people want to get their gas when you pull in with the trailer and two of us hop out with 8 cans. I'm like, the people are going to shoot us. And he's like,
yeah.
we're paying money just like they are. And I was like, okay, okay, we'll
Yep.
make it happen. We do it as quickly as possible, but they don't love
But
it.
when Costco's 40 cents a gallon less than everywhere else around for premium, and you're buying,
A lot of it.
you know, 70 gallons, including the truck, worth it.
Yeah, and it helps if you have a friend. So we usually take up
Yeah.
two. Yeah, he does the truck. I do get the other set of pumps. I'm filling them and loading them back in the trailer, and then we're back and forth. And yeah, it helps if there's two of you. A lot, but
Yep.
yes,
All right. So at the
yeah.
track,
at the
there are other
track.
ways you can save that are not in the car. Chrissy, you're a
As
master of a lot of these
as you
things. So
guys are
tell us
talking about
more.
this, I'm like, it is so there's so many things to save by staying at the track. Staying at the track, cooking ahead, everything that basically how we do our setup, which maybe we need to have that as a show. It's been a while since we've talked about my setup. But basically getting everything at Costco, BJ, something like that. So we'll just start with the prep. So I do weeks of prep ahead. It's everything is going to be cheaper if you get it at a store. Make sure you have enough of it and prep it. So that comes down to paper goods. It comes down to getting things like Gatorade. If you buy um, the powder in a large container and you fill I was 55-gallon drums. It's not 55-gallon, 5-gallon rather.
If you have a big
Five,
team, you might need that. But
But if
fif-
you've got a 55-gallon one of those Coleman cooler things full of
yes,
Gatorade, you're a hero.
not 55 gallons. I'm sorry. I got to Haswapper on the brain. 5 gallons. Then, that's going to be cheaper than buying a whole bunch of bottles and cleaner too, for that matter. But things like that, they just take effort and prep, but you buy them all cheap at home and then you bring it all with you and then you don't have to try to go out to the store. Every once in a while, you forgot paper plates and you run out of them, but then you have to do it on the fly, just like you would for car parts. You got to go right out to the store and go get things that are going to be more expensive because they're now an emergency. So I think prepping and working ahead and keeping the buying things in bulk and then organizing enough stuff for you
So
to
see,
bring for
like
one
stuff
race.
you know is not going to go bad. Coffee filters for your maker.
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
right after the holidays, you can get your paper goods because it'll have Christmas trees and crap like that on there. So the stores have to get rid of them, and
Oh, I like that idea.
it wipes your mustard stained face just as good as a regular napkin and is pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, getting stuff on clearance is even better. But yeah, and then food. So getting food, bringing food from home, especially if you parse it out with your teammates, if they're trustworthy. Don't do it if they are not going to bring what they said they're going to bring.
here's
But
potato salad.
yeah, right. Or saying, I thought
Get
you said
out.
I thought you said you were going to make lunch today. Oh, I did? Because then it becomes an emergency and then you have to go out and get expensive food. But if you bring the food from home, it's going to be so much cheaper than buying it at the track, going out to dinner, or all the meals for that matter. Getting a thing of coffee, bringing a coffee maker from your kitchen, putting it out and having that instead of going out to Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks, especially if you have multiple coffee drinkers, things like that add up so quickly. So that's why we do all of the cooking at the track, very minimal things If there's somebody that has a need, or we're going out for a parts run or something like that, we'll bring stuff back. But for the most part, we have everything there, and it does save a lot. I have no idea how much, but in theory, it would. And then lastly, I'm thinking,
And we eat better to eat and drink better than if we were just getting sourcing stuff, whatever's
right?
around.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so eating, I'm
Tim's
thinking,
Tim's rubbed meat, or yeah, there's just all kinds of.
I was
Here's
thinking,
things I look forward to eating at the track. It's gonna be awesome.
well, and then there's eating, but there's also drinking. So, like, bringing a handle of Captain is going to be cheaper than going to the bar. So, or a case of beer for that matter. So, and then you don't have to drive anywhere. So, really, there's a lot of savings and positivity of eating and drinking at the track. And lastly, staying at the track. So, depending on the weather and depending on what you have available, this can be difficult. Obviously, when you go to pit in April, it has snowed, snow, hail. It has been windy. It's usually really windy. So sleeping, oh, your mental can tell you how it is to be asleep in the back of a back of a
Which
truck.
lovely accommodations provided to me, but I've just been in the desert too long and my blood has gotten too thin.
Yes,
Which
correct.
comes down, it does reinforce your whole concept about planning. Actually check the weather, crap like
Yeah,
that. Things that
yeah,
I'd gotten really lazy about.
yeah. So you probably should have just found somewhere else to sleep. Unfortunately, because it was that
Or
cold.
extra blankets.
That
Yeah.
would like stop someplace and at a closeout store and Army Navy
Or we
store and
should,
bought something.
or we
Yeah.
could have brought more.
For
But
for the longest time I remember having my own box of bedding that was in the old
yeah, yeah,
RV.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
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 So yeah, so you probably need to check the weather, and make sure. So you probably shouldn't probably stay in a tent at pit, in April because it's usually pretty
You're going to
at the
die.
very yeah. Even if the weekend that it was nice, it was still gets windy. They still have these big storms that come across. So knowing the weather, can't always do it. And sometimes you probably need to pivot and go to a hotel instead of actually just trying to you deal with it and live with it. But yeah,
Hey,
but we
a blanket and a little space heater and an extension cord are way cheaper than a hotel room.
correct. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we have transformed our trailer into a pretty nice accommodation, with plenty of space heaters, and we keep making it better, but it's better than us going to the hotel. So, so staying and figuring out what you can do, and if you have friends with RVs, and you just have to know if you want to stay with your friends in those RVs. But yeah, but look at
Or
accommodations before you go get a hotel room.
and sometimes the converse of that, we've got friends who travel a lot for business and they've all got like a gajillion miles at various places. And so they use their race weekends to burn up miles. So it's a no cost option to them. But it again, it's coming back to that examining what you're doing out of habit and seeing if this is an opportunity for you to spend less money.
Yep.
Well, I'm sorry. There's
Everywhere you
a
look, there's stuff.
Yeah, so Jerry Ringel had a comment on this. We usually stay at the track in the trailer. That helps. We bring our own bar and TV, so we don't always have to go seeking entertainment elsewhere. Lawn chairs and BS abound.
And he built his trailer to sleep in. He's got
Yeah.
fold out beds. He's got it all in there. It is insulated. It is warm. He'd also, when it gets a little chilly, they'll do some space heaters. And they also managed to put a urinal in the front of theirs that goes into a gray tank because I'm not schlepping across the paddock at 2 o'clock in the morning because we're all in our 50s and we have to go to the bathroom 4 times, especially when we've been drinking. So, he put a little planning and effort into keeping it. And what's particularly nice about Jerry's setup is everyone knows Jerry has it. Sooner or later, everyone in the paddock will come to you. Everyone comes by and says hi to Jerry. It's great, especially if it's football season. We're watching whatever, Dale comes by. The judge usually stop by. We have a great time.
I mean, same thing usually happens with 3 p.m. So there's that.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. But the escape hatch on his trailer, he built that into a bar. And on one side, it's a TV that is hooked to satellite. And on the other side, inside the trailer is where we all plug in our phones and everything at night. So we always get taken care of. It was built for a specific purpose and it's very nice.
Plus,
So,
you meet so
yeah.
many people that way and you make new friends.
Mm-hmm.
so much
Yes.
fun. We didn't really talk about. So this is veering away from. I think we've talked plenty about how to save at the track. One thought was we kind of glossed over, and I don't know that it's so applicable. Well, it is applicable. We didn't talk about like picking a car. That's fairly obvious, I suppose. But we just said
Well,
how
we
to.
did a bit. We said, talked about how the four-cylinder small cars with their small tires and small brake pads and small engines burn way less of all the consumables than
Okay.
the expensive, the big thundering V8 cars.
Right.
Or pick cars
Yeah.
with common parts availability. Like David said about his Tempo, the parts are basically free. But if you are deciding you want to race a Citroen, you know, or something like that, not so much. They're hard to get and expensive.
Parts are hard to get. You can't go to the flaps. You can't. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
cool.
love your easy answers, the boring answer. Sure, that BMW is wicked fast out of the box, but you're paying for it. You're paying for it every time something breaks, every time you have to upgrade it. And no, in rural Pennsylvania, probably not going to be a lot of parts of those. Camden, South Carolina, no. Road Atlanta, yeah,
Nope.
you're probably okay. You're going to be fine with needing BMW parts. Button Willow, nope. So,
But
things you've
a
been looking
Ford
for
Focus,
all
Ford Focus,
day
you can get
long.
parts in every junkyard, anywhere. They're everywhere and available. They're cheap, they're durable, they work, for
Ford
example.
Focus is a great car. Yeah, yeah, you're getting
Yep.
into that, and um, I am seeing Mazda threes out here at alarmingly affordable prices.
Just
And
not race cars. Just
no, yeah,
just
just if
in
you're
general.
looking to build a race car or you want to start on that one, you can find a Mazda three, and depending on the state you live in, anytime the word title issues start coming in, oh, now they're affordable.
Yeah. Yep. And then, hey, if you want to learn how to build that Mazda 3, go back, I don't
Couple
know, to
shows.
the fall. There's definitely an episode that talked all about what the secrets are of the Mazda 3. It's a good car.
Yeah.
Top 10 capable, reliable,
It is. It is.
good,
Uh,
fun to
but also
drive.
there's a the team in Colorado that he's just a Volkswagen diesel guy, and he knows them inside and like old school Volkswagen diesel, 80s Volkswagen diesels, and he has these things laying around because that's what he specialized in, and the running cost on he's got a Rabbit diesel. Good Lord, I don't think he spends on a race weekend what half the team spend on a set of just a tire. Um, I had a great time also at High Plains Raceway running a four-cylinder Volvo wagon with a four-speed that Tom and Jan Webb had built. It was, good. It was a great fun time. We had tempered expectations. We focused more on the theme, but the car stayed on the track the entire time, and it didn't burn through a lot of consumables. It was quick. It
If
wasn't
Timmy were here,
fast.
he would tell us about the difference in running costs between the Solstice and the Failbird and the El Camino, for example.
Oof.
Like
Uh,
the tires are still expensive on the Solstice because they're 18s, but everything else, four-cylinder, easy, reliable,
mhm.
works. Or the El Camino, 12 gallons an hour, and everything's
Corey is
huge
turning off
and
his radio
expensive.
right now, and he just needs a
Right.
moment to collect
Yeah.
himself because that's some PTSD right there.
Right. And it's the same thing with the Failbird. Sure, the thing's fast and it's usually in contention, but it's not winning and it's super expensive. It has been to run for
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Super expensive.
Yes, and that controversial topic. Also recognize when it might just be time to take your car and move it on to somebody else. If the parts are starting to get a little unobtainable, or it's not a linear line to get to the pointy end of a field in any race car at all. It is exponential. It takes you 10 times as much effort to run a top five car or to take your quick sorted car and make it top five capable, even with the best team on there. You're going to be you're funding it's way worse. The parts you have to use and how often you have to replace them because you're running so close to the ragged edge. And when the parts start getting obscure and hard to find, it gets to be a challenge. We can only link one episode per, but also I would encourage you go back and find the one where we talked about the single cam B16. That car ran 2 seasons on oil changes. And then trying to make it go faster, you went through how many different trying to turbocharge it.
It wouldn't go that long on oil changes, but it ran 24,000 race miles. Then once
I'm
we
sorry,
would
yes,
turbocharge
you
it,
did an oil change every race, yes, but that was like the only
yeah,
maintenance on it and stuff.
yeah.
But
Other than that, the thing just never did anything. But then when we turbocharged it, we'd get 2.5 incredible races out of it every single motor.
Oh, it was
2.5 reliably.
we said
Yeah.
that's
Then you'd
not
have to start
great.
over. Yeah.
and so then you went to the K24
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that engine
It
outlasted the
has been
car.
it has been flawless, even in the second car.
Yeah, into the
Mhm.
second
Yeah.
car, right?
Well, and
So
you don't necessarily have to change your cars, but you might have to change the way you approach your cars. Like instead of building a hot motor, build a warm, reliable motor. If you're no longer going for the pointy end, you know how to. If it's a car you have, you probably have a lot of spares. You probably know enough about them. You probably know how to make them last and work. But don't necessarily go for fast. Go for reliability and longevity, and that'll cut your costs right there. 'Cause you may have changed your perspective on things over time. Your life may have changed. There's a way you can keep the car you have and not necessarily have to feed it as much. If you
Mhm.
have a V8 car and you really want to try this and go for broke, put in that Iron Duke. You'll get C class and probably an org choice for doing it.
Yes, and a lot of it'll be expensive, and you will say that was fun, and then not do it again. Do
Right.
not do that experience again. Rather, you will figure out what
Yeah,
else
but
you want to
hey, you'll
race.
burn so much less fuel and brakes
and you will
and
laugh
tires.
all weekend. Yes.
Yep.
I don't think you'll use any brakes with an Iron Duke anything. I think
Yeah.
you'll
It'll be
be
great.
great. Yeah.
And you'll have a
And
great time.
you know, and again, touching on some sensitivity here, maybe also shift some of the team members around. It's getting a little too expensive, and you've got the one guy that just wants to solve every problem with cubic dollars. Hey man, love having you around. Please come by, have a cup of coffee, but I'm going to introduce you to this team over here because our
Might
budget no
fit
longer
your
supports
attitude a little bit
our
better.
budget no longer supports what you want out of
Priorities,
this, and
right?
we don't want it to end negatively. So come race with these people. I'll happily vouch for you, but we're gonna yank out this V8. We're gonna throw in an Iron Duke, and you're down with that or you're not.
These priorities may fit better with
You
what
know,
you're
you
looking to get out of
and,
it.
and your teammates
Mhm.
evolve too. They come in, they're like, hey, you're dropping off 2 seconds a lap. What happened? Nothing. I'm having fun. It's great. If I drag my feet a little bit, the car goes another 30 minutes and, the sandwich is ready when I get done. Yeah.
Yep.
Which that was a piece of advice that we got from, um, where'd he go? I think I
Greg.
got done.
It's Greg O.
Yes.
Greg O
Uh,
said sandwich brakes before the wheel bearings can fail. Yeah,
gives it a chance to cool down proper.
totally. I like James. James M said, "At the end of the day, drive over as many of the marbles as possible to make your race tires last longer." That's a top tip.
No.
Right there. My
Mhm.
tires have as much tread as they started the day with.
Oh no.
Not their own tread, but it's great tread.
Doesn't
And
matter.
then
It's
also
rubber.
it's rubber, exactly. Jeremy Moonen of the failed contraception ration just was straight honest about it. Said, I don't have any useful input. And he threw a picture of his big thirsty V8 Firebird up there with
Yep.
giant tires and fender flares and everything on there.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Yep.
Mhm.
Shoot.
Oh well.
Well,
Well, good. Hopefully, you thought about some ways that you can save a few bucks this time around.
Yeah, and it was a bit of a short turn when we put this out there. But if you're listening to this episode and you're like, "Oh, these idiots completely glossed over this very obvious thing," or even little subtle trick you don't mind sharing, down there in the comments, get a hold of us on the socials.
maybe we'll come up with new ideas. I like to save a lot.
Things that are not eating pimento loaf on Wonder Bread, please. Like come on.
Oh yeah. I'm not.
Come on.
I'm not
We want
above that.
we want 95% of the quality or 90% of the quality for a significantly reduced price. That's the thing we're looking for. We want a good experience still.
That is, but that comes from a person who considers spam a luxury.
I wouldn't go
Yep.
luxury. I would say it is a staple, and if it's cooked well, it's delicious. So
Yeah, get
And
slice it thin,
it
get it nice and
keeps.
crispy.
Yeah, it keeps. Like you come over there,
Sure does.
10 o'clock in the morning, you're between pit breaks. It's still kind of just sitting there on the Blackstone. Oh yeah.
then it's like jerky.
Yeah, but
Yep.
I'm still going to eat it. It's still good.
This is all really good consumer advice.
It is.
Good.
Yes.
Cool.
Meth
That's-
and spam. That's how.
Okay. Not in our paddock. Yeah. Come by for
And
some.
Costco.
Meth, spam, and Costco. I may have to go and change the image, the thumbnail image.
Oh no.
Let's see what the AI comes up with for
What is
racing,
even happening?
meth, spam, Costco.
Ah.
Oh, good.
All right. We'll let you know.
All right.
How about that?
What else do we have going on before we wrap things up completely? Anybody?
Not on this topic. I don't think so.
No, I meant in our next
Oh,
topic,
in
we've got
life.
something new. Right?
Oh,
In life.
yes, I'm
Like,
sorry.
We killed this topic. What else we got?
So it is towards the end of February, and this is how ridiculous my mind works. So when I'm wandering through the casinos and I start seeing a whole lot of college basketball, I know that Formula One season is almost upon us because the opening race is always in Australia, and that happens here in the US on Saturday night. And the wall of TVs at Circa will instantly stop playing college basketball and go to nothing but Formula One. And if Formula One is upon us, then that means it is time for the return of our F1 Fantasy League. We have learned our lesson. We are staying with Fantasy GP because it works really, really well for us. I have reactivated our league. So many of you, many of you have already automatically enrolled. That is fantastic. For those of you who have not.
Now.
Yeah. Oh, you're in.
I'm in.
When I reactivated it, boom, you were already there.
Well, because I was like, I told you, reactivate. Yeah, we've got 5 people in there. Oh, Dead Pedal's already here. Man, he won last year. Well,
Yeah.
The year
in
before.
everybody starts on the same level. So
Everyone starts on the same level, and it is going to be an interesting year. But we've got a link in our show notes. But if you don't want to do that, you can head over to fantasygp.com. You build your own team, and then you can join a league. And our league is 742-59541. And if you forget that or you can't find it, get a hold of us in anything, and I will happily send it
Put
to
it in the
you.
show notes.
It is. Oh, it's in the show
Well,
notes.
well,
100%. It's
I wonder
going
if
in
you
the show
can
notes.
Google everyone racer, or not Google. Like, can you?
I don't know. Could you probably search for
leagues.
everyone?
I'm already in
the
the league,
E1R
so I can't search
yeah.
for it. But
Yeah,
It's
E1R
called
league.
Everyone Racers, the league.
Yeah,
it is
absolutely.
Correct.
It is. So, come in there, join, have fun with us. I have noticed some oddities. Have you guys built your teams yet?
No, I didn't know that you opened
I
it.
started to, but I
Oh.
couldn't finalize it because it was too early when I tried.
Okay, because I haven't made my predictions, but I was building my team. The Ferrari is the most expensive car this year because Red Bull's having to go, and we'll have our Formula One episode probably after the season starts. But because Red Bull's going with the new engines, there's a lot of untested. This is going to be an interesting year. I don't know if any one team's prepared to dominate. Lewis Hamilton's the number 2 driver. He is not the top dog.
Shoot,
We're going to find out. That's the fun of it.
Yes, we will figure
We
it
are
out.
absolutely going to
Join
find
us.
out.
It's really a very low time commitment to do it if you're following it at all. You can even set it to like auto pick stuff and it really make it minimal involvement. Or you can go, do it every week, but really it takes like 3 minutes to do.
Yeah, I set an alarm on my phone to remind me, and even then I still forget occasionally to go, oh crap, don't make my picks, on that one. So yeah,
Awesome.
it could be anybody's game this year, and
Could be.
if you're not Eric Peterson and you win, we'll send you a trophy. We don't know. It could be a bowling trophy.
I don't know what it is, but we'll congratulate you because
yeah, because it was fun and it's worth a little trash talk every now and again on that one. So,
all right.
Excellent. What are we doing next week? Well, we're not really sure, but after that, we're going to have some rally stuff coming. We've got several rally shows on the way. Not next week, but coming later to mid-March through into the beginning of April. We're going to go a lot of rally stuff, and because it's fun. If you don't know much about it, you're going to learn. If you do, you're going to enjoy it. Maybe you're going to want to join in on one of these, but at the very least, you're going to hear some fun stories about fun with cars. It's pretty much all it is.
You want to save some money racing? Don't go racing. Go on a Lemons rally. You will save so much money.
No way.
I don't know. Why be broken in a racetrack when you can be broken on the side of the highway? Come on.
Absolutely. The tire budget and gas costs for one weekend of Racing the 3 bought us a limo.
Okay. Well, and you have hotels and food, but we won't. I guess we're talking about cheap today, and we'll talk about expensive later.
Hey, if you really want to go cheap, you could sleep in that limo, but we're not doing that.
You don't want to.
But
I said can, not should.
Depending on how much I drink the night before, we might.
No, well, and there's a lot of desert. There might just be some bored to death covering 70 miles.
That's probably gonna happen too.
Yep.
Anyway, more to come. Let's talk about that soon.
Yes,
Great.
it's going to be a great time.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. Hope you save some money.
Yeah.
Thanks for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you will join us in the world of driving, racing, and building because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Then go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. Even if you hated us, give us 5 stars and tell us why. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop us a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. You can still text us at 484-243-0455. Find us on Instagram at everyone.racers, YouTube and Facebook under Everyone Racers, or even Reddit at /E1R. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the shiny side up, unless, like us, there is no shiny side, then just keep those wheels moving.